Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on creating virtual machines in Azure. So, we've already had a session in the morning where I told you about why you should actually go ahead and make Azure as your career option. Now, what we're going to talk about is how you can actually go ahead. So, I understand that now you understand, okay, so Azure is something that I want to learn. Now, why you should actually go ahead uh, while you're actually going ahead and learning Azure, how do you get started in it is what this session is all about. Okay, so I'm going to make you up and ready. I'm going to show you how to basically sign up on Azure and then how to create your first virtual server on Azure. Okay, so let's get this session started. So first of all, we'll be discussing what is Azure exactly, and then we'll move on and talk about the story of a startup, which will basically make you clear about how Azure is actually being used by industries. Then we're going to move on and talk about some of the services in Azure and understand what they actually mean and their names. And then move on to basically our Azure hands-on section where I'll be showing you how you can basically launch your first server in Azure. Once that is done, we'll move on and I'll show you guys how you can get started with Azure for further learning. Okay, so guys, this is the agenda for today. Now, I would like to point out that we have some people on webinar as well, and we have some people watching on YouTube, right? So guys, if you're interested, we're also going to have a third session today in the evening. So you can go ahead and register for that. In that we will basically be deploying an end-to-end application on Azure, right? And then we'll be I'll be taking a leave from you guys after that. Okay, so guys, this is the plan. So if you're interested, I think in the chat you will get the link for the webinars. You can go ahead and register for them. Now, before I start, let me see if we have any questions on the webinar, and we can go ahead and answer them. Okay, no question. Bharat says good morning, good afternoon, Bharat. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start the session with the first topic, which is what is Azure. So guys, Azure, like I pointed out in the earlier sessions as well, is basically a cloud provider which is owned by Microsoft. Okay. Now, what it does is it rents servers, right? And it rents servers which are basically owned by Microsoft. The infrastructure is managed by Microsoft, and it gives you an option of pay-as-you-go basis, which can be based on per minute and per hour basis. Okay, now let's move forward and talk about some of the features of Azure. So Azure was basically established in the year 2010, right? It is used by more than 95% of the Fortune 500 companies. It is very cost effective when you compare it with other cloud providers. Reason being, Microsoft owns a lot of products which also the other cloud providers offer on their platform, right? Now, but what they offer on their platform, the products are a little expensive. The reason being, Microsoft can actually control the cost over there, and because Microsoft is offering also the same products on its own platform as well, it is actually offering you at almost half the cost of what is costing on the other cloud platforms. For example, MS SQL is a lot cheaper on the Azure platform when you compare it with AWS and Google Cloud Platform, right? Similarly, any virtual machine that you launch, which probably will have Windows running on it, will be a lot cheaper on Azure than if you compare it with other cloud providers such as AWS and Google Cloud Platform. So it is very cost effective. Fourth thing is it has great language support. So any application, any service that you're launching, which is probably, let's say, a platform as a service, which basically means where the server is pre-configured, all you have to do is upload your application. It has a great language support in those kind of services where most of the modern languages are included as a part of the platform as a service option, right? Then you have availability zones, which basically means how many regions or how many data centers does Azure have throughout the world, right? So data centers, Azure has data centers in 54 regions around the world. So at 54 different places across the globe, Azure has placed out its data centers, and obviously each data center has huge, number of servers established in them. Now, if we talk about these 54 regions in which Azure has made its servers available, they are across 140 countries, right? Now, you might be wondering, when it's 54 regions, how it can be 140 countries. So, guys, when, let's say, Asia is a region, okay, Asia is a continent, Asia is a region where Azure has its data centers. Now, in Asia as well, it will have data centers at multiple places. Okay, so what Azure has done is it has multiple data centers. It's not like it'll have 54 data centers. It'll have more than 54 data centers, but it has first of all divided the world map into 54 regions. In all those 54 regions, it has its data centers. Okay, now if there is more demand from a particular country, in that country as well, it will have some data centers. And let's say in a continent, you have three countries which have more demand, right? So in all those three countries, it will have its own data centers, but it will be counted as in one region. Okay, so these places where you have it in countries, it's basically called availability zones, and the regions or the continents where it's data centers are deployed, it's basically called a region. So this will be more clear when you actually deploy a resource. You will actually be able to see that what all different kind of regions you can choose. Okay, then moving forward, we now let's go ahead and discuss a use case through which you can understand why companies prefer to deploy their servers on Azure. Now, one reason that I told you, it's very cost effective. Second reason that you have understood is uh, you know uh, the mm, the headache of managing servers goes away, right? So more on that you will understand using the story that I'm going to tell you about how a startup basically shifted to Azure. Before that, let me see if there is any question. So Bharat is asking me, what is cloud computing? So Bharat, cloud computing is basically uh, it's basically a business model in which you rent servers to people who want servers, right? For example, let's say you want to deploy an application which will be used by 200,000 people. Now, if you were to buy servers of your own, it will take a lot of cost. You will have to buy, let's say, around 20 to 30 lakhs worth of servers, right? But when you talk about Azure, you can actually rent an infrastructure for them, and or rent servers from Azure where you can deploy your application, and the servers cost as low as 50 paisa per hour, right? So when you are getting this kind of a deal from Azure on servers, which can basically deal with all the traffic that you want, what's the point of buying servers? Now, when you buy servers, there are a lot of other things involved as well, which will be clear as we move along by understanding this story. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with this story, guys. So, guys, let's say you are a guy who wants to open an application like Uber Eats. Okay, now Uber Eats is basically a food ordering platform where people just open the app, they can choose the restaurant that they want, and then they can order food from there. Okay, now if you are trying to open an application like this, what are the things that you have to do? So first, you will have to develop this application. Okay, so let's say you developed it, you tested on your local system. Now you want to make it available to the world. So how will you make it available to the world? So first of all, you will have to buy some servers, right? So you will have to make some investment. You will have to invest some 10, 15 lakhs and buy some servers, set up the software on it, and then you will have to deploy your application over it. You will also have to buy a good internet connection, which will make these servers available online, right? And then you will have to set up URLs. You'll have to set up you have to buy a domain, a lot of different things you will have to do, and then your application will be up. It will be available on Play Store, App Store to download. Okay, now let's see what happens next. Okay, so your app, basically what you have deployed now, a lot of people seem interested in it, and what they've done is a lot of people downloaded your app, and now they are trying to order food from your application. Okay, so but you just launched your application yesterday, and you did not expect 1,000 users using your application today. You thought the business will grow steadily. And as it grows, as the revenue comes in, you can buy more servers to accommodate new users, right? Because when users are trying to access your application, obviously the load on the server is becoming more, right? And as more users are trying to access your application, the server is outrunning its hardware. It needs more servers to basically take the load, right? So what you do is you take a loan. You're like, okay, my app is anyways becoming big, so I will get the revenue in future. So what you do is you buy more servers and you include it in your infrastructure, and then your application again seems to be stable. But understand this, guys, when you're buying more servers, it will not happen like, okay, you decided right now, in the next hour you will have more servers. It'll take some 2-3 days for the servers to come. And when it takes 2-3 days for the server to come, it might be that your users might face a very slow application for the next 2-3 days, which is a business loss. Okay, so now let's see what happens next. So now what happens is you buy the servers, you attach it to your infrastructure, and again, more users come in. And now again, those servers that you have bought, they become overloaded and the app again becomes slow. Now again, you have to take a loan, buy some servers, and you are just fed up with the situation. Now understand that here, guys, that your business is not a problem over here, right? Your business is a hit. Your app is a hit. Everything is working perfectly fine. People like your application. But the only scene is you're not able to manage the hardware which is required to basically cater to the demand which is coming in from your application. So what do you do after this? So this is if this was a problem before the cloud era, when cloud computing was not there, you would have probably shut down your business because you don't have that kind of money until unless you have investments. If you don't have that kind of money, you cannot create this infrastructure, right? But now, because cloud computing is there, somebody introduced this guy to cloud computing, and Azure, they introduced it to. And now what they can do is they can basically work with cloud and rent servers from there and make their infrastructure available at any instant. Now, when you use Azure, guys, first problem which solves is you get on-demand servers. So let's say you want 10 servers right now. In the next 2 minutes, you will get 10 servers added to your infrastructure. That is point number one. Point number two is that you do not have to buy servers, right? You will get a monthly bill at the end of the month as to how much usage you have used, and accordingly, you will have to pay, right? So that basically payment will also come it will be a very feeble payment when you compare it with buying infrastructure. Okay, so that is again something which is a plus point. So now that you're using Azure, so what you have done is you have now deployed all your infrastructure on Azure and your app is available on it, right? Now with this, whenever the traffic increases, what all you do is you increase the number of servers. In the next 2 minutes, your hardware problem is solved, right? Similarly, now it will not be the case that, let's say 2,000 people wanted to access your application at 2 p.m. in the afternoon because it was lunchtime. But now at 6 p.m. in the evening, not a lot of people are using your servers, right? Which basically means now your server are idling, right? But with Azure, what you can do is you can also reduce your infrastructure based on the load demand. And this is all managed automatically. There is something called as auto scaling in cloud computing, which can basically see your CPU usage. If your CPU usage goes beyond a certain number, which you can define, it can shrink your infrastructure to a minimum number of servers so that you don't get charged extra. And at the same time, the demand is actually also met. Right, so this is a very good deal. You're not only having a control on your cost, which is there in cloud, but also that cost is very less too. Right, so it's a win-win situation, and that is why companies now they prefer having their infrastructure on cloud rather than having their own infrastructure, even if they have that kind of a money. Reason being, now they do not have to spend their time in planning their hardware, spend their time in maintenance of the hardware. Everything is now managed by Azure. Okay, so now the app availability for this guy is also great, and at the same time he can also focus more on his application rather than worrying about how his hardware is performing. Is the hardware okay? Is there any fault in the hardware that he has to fix? Everything is managed by Azure. Okay, so now that I told you the business model of Azure, why basically it is so successful, let me also talk about some companies who are using Azure right now. So companies is used by a lot of companies. So you have BMW as a company who's using the Azure infrastructure. You have Microsoft itself. So anything and everything which any online presence that Microsoft has is basically hosted on the Azure cloud platform. Then when you talk about LinkedIn, LinkedIn is also a company which is hosted on Azure cloud, right? Honeywell, Samsung, all these are companies which are hosted on the Azure cloud platform. And any product of theirs, if you're using on the internet, that is being served from the Azure servers. Okay. This also means that once you learn Azure, you become capable of applying for jobs in the Azure domain. You can apply to all these companies as an Azure architect or admin. All right. Now let's come down to the technical aspect of things. Let's come down to different offerings that you have in Azure which you can use. Now I will be talking about only 3 services which are the most basic services in Azure that you should know about, right? And then we move on and deploy one of those services today. Okay, so there are 3 very basic services and very important services in Azure, guys. First one is called a virtual machine. A virtual machine is nothing but a server that we have been discussing so far. It's an infrastructure as a service. You take this server and you can do anything from on that server from your side, right? And it is given to you by Azure. You're charged on a pay-as-you-go basis, right? And I will show you also the cost which comes when you deploy an Azure server. So that is what a virtual machine is, right? And then you can access this virtual machine from your local computer. The second kind of service is called an app service. Okay, now this is a platform as a service, guys. Now this is, again, if you think about it, it's a virtual machine only. But in an app service, you do not get access to the operating system of your virtual machine. Okay, what you do get is a platform from where you can upload your application, the softwares which are supposed to be installed, the languages which are supposed to be installed. Everything is managed by Azure. So you do not have to worry about where my application is existing, is my server having the right kind of software or not. The software part is all handled by Azure. All Azure gives you is a website where you can click on the upload button and upload your application code, and that application code will automatically be deployed on the website. So this is what is called as platform as a service, right? You do not get access to the direct operating system. What you do get access to is a dashboard from where you can upload your code. And that is what app service is all about. Then there is a third kind of service which is called the blob service, which is again very important service. So blob service is basically a storage service in Azure. Okay, and what you can do on this blob service is you can upload any kind of file, and that file you can make available on the internet. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you upload an image. Now that image which is uploaded can be made available on the internet, and when you make it available on the internet, you basically get a link, and whenever you paste that link on the browser, you will be able to see that image. Now how is this helpful? So when you're designing websites, it is a good idea to always have your static content on a different server rather than on the same server, because that is what the distributed architecture tech talks about, right? You will get to know more about this when you start designing applications. So distributed applications are the way to go in this modern era. And when you want to distribute your applications as much as possible, it is also a good idea to have all your static content on a separate storage account from where any website, anywhere you want to call it, you just have to paste that link in your website code and it will be available to you in your website. More on this you will understand when you actually work with this service, right? For now, guys, today we are going to focus our attention on virtual machines. Okay, so let's go ahead and understand and actually perform a hands-on where we will be deploying a virtual machine, both of Windows and Linux operating system, and see how we can access them. Okay, so let me just switch to my browser and let me go to first to Azure Portal. Now, first, let me show you how you can actually sign up on Azure, right? So if you want to sign up on Azure, or if you want your Azure account of your own, all you have to do is go to portal.azure.com. Okay. Now, once you go to portal.azure.com, it'll ask you for sign in. Now, obviously, you don't have one. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to click on create one account. Okay. Now, once you are creating an account, you will have to enter an email address over here, and you will have to enter a password. Then it will take you to a page where it will ask you for your credit card details. Now, unfortunately, you need a credit card in order to sign up for Azure. Now, there is good news for people who are students right now who are in colleges. You can actually go ahead and sign up on Azure without a credit card as well by signing up for a student account, right? So what you have to do is just open Azure for students, sign up. Just type in that in Google, and then what you do is you will see the screen Azure for students. Just click over here and click on activate now. It will ask you for your college name, and once it's validated, college email ID. Once it's validated, you do not have to enter any credit card. You will straight away get $100 credit in your account, which you can use for the next 12 months to practice on Azure. But people who are not students like me, who are working professionals, guys, will have to use a credit card in order to create a Microsoft Azure account. And it is very simple. You just click on next. It will take you to a screen. It will charge you 2 rupees if you in INR. And my friends who are watching it from another countries, they'll charge you $1 or so. Based on whatever your currency it will charge you a unit of that currency, and then it will reverse back once it establishes that yes, your card is working, right? And once that is done, you can basically your account is created on Azure, right? Once your account is created on Azure, again you will have to go to portal.azure.com, and then you will have to sign into your account. So let me just show you. Okay, so this is how my Azure dashboard will look like. So first of all, what I'll have to do is I'll have to create a resource group. Okay, so there are so many resource groups that I have right now. So resource groups basically help you to differentiate between the resources that you have launched. Okay, so I will add a resource group here. And let me name this resource group as something. So let me call it as Hemant-Azure. Okay, and then you can choose which region you want to deploy this resource in. So I'm going to deploy it in West US, and then click on Review plus Create. Okay, so now my resource group got created. It will take some time to reflect it over here. So what you can do is in the notification, you can just straight away go to resource group. Now, once you are in the resource group, guys, next thing that you have to do is click on add, and then you have to choose the type of resource that you want to launch. So we want to launch an Ubuntu server and we want to launch a Windows server, right? So let's select both of them. So first of all, we are launching a Windows server. Let's give this virtual machine name as Windows, right? We'll be launching it in West US. Right? And then do you want any, so you can leave everything at default. We are learning this for the first time, so you don't have to worry about anything, right? Then here comes the size. So you can choose the size of this instance. What is the size that you want to launch an instance for, right? Let's say we go ahead with a 2 GB instance. It's going to have a 2 GB RAM and 1 core CPU. Let's select this. Click on select. Okay. And now, as you can see, this is the pricing. So if you use the server for the whole month, you will just be charged 1,390 rupees, which is great. Right now, let's go ahead and deploy a user. So let's say the username is Intellipaat. Let's specify a password as well. Okay. Okay, so we have given the passwords, and now we can just go ahead and click on Review plus Create. So I'm skipping a lot of settings. So we can just leave all those settings for default because this is the first time that we are launching it. And here you get the per hour pricing. So it is 2 rupees, 2 rupees per hour. This is how low this server is. So if I delete it after an hour, I will just be charged 2 rupees, right? And if you're using Azure for the first time, you will get 13,300 rupees as credit or $200 as credit. You will just be charged 2 rupees from that credit after you delete this server after an hour. Okay, let's click on create. And I'm launching a 2 GB machine. You can actually go ahead and launch even a lower size machine, and you will get even cheaper price than this, right? This is the price of a 2 GB machine. That's why it's 2 rupees per hour. Okay, so my server is now getting deployed. Now it'll take a minute or so to get deployed. Meanwhile, since this was a Windows server, now let's go ahead and deploy a Linux server as well. So again, I will go to my resource group. Here my Windows server is getting deployed. Let me click on add and let me deploy an Ubuntu server as well. Okay. Now let me select the server name. So let me say it's Linux. I'll be deploying it in West US again. Okay. Then the operating system which is getting launched is Ubuntu 18.04, which is great. Now I'm going to choose the size over here. So let's choose a size. So the last time I launched a 2 GB machine, 2 GB RAM machine. This time, let me launch a 1 GB machine, right? Let me click on select. And I'll show you the pricing afterwards, which is per hour. So this server is going to cost me 600 rupees a month. That is just amazing, guys. Imagine how cheap that is, right? And I'll just show you the 1 hour pricing as well. Now let's choose the username. So username is Intellipaat. Let me choose the password as well. Okay. Everything looks good. Let's just click on review plus create. And now let's just create the instance. But as you can see, the pricing is 0.81 paisa per hour, right? And this is a 1 GB RAM machine with 1 vCPU, right? And you can go lower than this as well. You can launch a 512 MB RAM system too, right? That is the option that you have, right? Still, this is the kind of pricing that Azure gives you, and that is why companies prefer to deploy servers on a cloud platform. They're not only getting the option of having better security, better server management, but at the same time they're saving a lot of money as well. Okay, so now on this, what we have done is we have launched a server, which is a Linux server. Now it will take some time to get deployed. Meanwhile, let's check if we can actually access our Windows server. Okay, so let's go back to home. Let's go in my resource group. So in my resource group, as you can see, the Windows server is now available. Let's click over it. And this is the IP address over which this server is available. So let's copy this IP address and let's try to connect to it. Now, whenever there is a Windows instance, which actually has been deployed over the internet, and if you want to access it, you will have to RDP into it, remote desktop protocol. You will have to use that. So if people who are using Windows, there is a tool in your system which is called remote desktop application. Okay, just open that. People who are using Mac, in your case, you will have to download an application called Microsoft Remote Desktop from the App Store. Open that. So, okay, so this is how it is. It will look on Mac. On Windows, what you will get is a window which will ask you for the host name, right? In the host name, for the people who are using Windows, you have to specify this IP address. For people on Azure, what you'll have to do is on this platform, just click on Add PC. Click on Add PC. It should then open up a window. 1 second. Let me try to open it once more. I think this app has hung. So what I'll do is let me just launch it one more time. Okay. And from here, I will just have to okay, I've quitted it. Let me log into it again. Yes, so once you click on Add PC, you will have to enter the IP address like this, right? And then just click on Add. Now, once you click on Add, double click on the PC that you want to connect to. It'll ask you for the username. So username would be administrator in this case, right? And then you have to enter the password. So password is something that you defined while you were launching or creating this instance. So let's click on continue. It will say that the connection is not verified. You can say it's okay, you know the server. Okay, one more. Okay, username was Intellipaat, guys. Sorry for that. And now you will be able to connect to your virtual server that you have deployed on Microsoft Azure. So as you can see, I'm being logged into my server, which is there on Azure. And now I can use it to basically install any software that I want. I can, make it any kind of server. I can make it a web server. I can make it a, I can make it a database server. Any software that I want, I can install over it, and then I will be able to use it. So this is how you can basically connect and launch a Windows server on Microsoft Azure. So now let's try to connect to our Linux server as well. Okay, so let's go back. So we have connected to Windows machine. I told you how to do it. So Bharat saying, what is your name? So Bharat, my name is Hemant. Okay, guys. Now what I'll be doing is I will be going ahead and connecting to a virtual machine that is my Linux machine. So I'll again go back to my resource group. And now what I'll do is I will select Linux from here. So let me just refresh. And as you can see, a Linux VM is here. I'll go inside it. Now you get the IP address over here, right? Just copy this IP address. And now for connecting to Linux, for Windows people, it's a little lengthy process. What you'll have to do is you'll have to download a software called Putty. Okay, so in your browser, just type Putty download. And you can just click on download Putty, the first link that you get. Click on the first link, you can download Putty here. And then what you can do is you can download the 64-bit version or 32-bit version based on your processor. You can download one version, right? And once you have downloaded it, let me show you the screenshot of how that thing will look like. When you open that software, this is the screen that you will get, right? On this screen, in the host name, you will have to type in the IP address of your machine, right? And just type in that, click on open, and then it'll ask you for username and password, and that is what you have set in the Azure platform. This is what you have to do on Windows. On a Mac system or on a Ubuntu operating system or a Linux operating system, what you have to do is copy the IP address, open your terminal, guys. Okay. Now on your terminal, type in SSH, username of the machine that you want to connect to, and the IP address of the server. Okay. Then it'll ask you whether you know the server. Just type in yes. It'll ask you for the password. So just type in the password that you entered earlier while creating the server. Hit enter. And this will basically connect you to your Linux machine. So now I'm connected to my Linux machine, as you can see. And this Linux machine is now hosted on Azure. Now you can do anything with this machine. I can update this machine. I can go ahead and install anything that I want. It's up to me what I want to do with this machine now. Okay, all these machines, they already have internet access to them. They have a very good internet connection given to them. So whatever software that you're going to install over here are going to get installed very fast. Okay, so guys, this is how you connect to a Linux machine in Azure. Okay, now let's talk about how you can learn further. So this is just the surface of Azure, guys. There are a lot more things to understand in Azure. There are a lot more things you need to understand, before you can actually design and deploy an application on a cloud platform. So how do you get started with that, and how do you change that change this knowledge that I've given you today into your career? Let's talk about that. Okay, so obviously, first of all, where can you study from? So there are a lot of material available online. If you want to check out our material, we have a YouTube channel where we regularly upload videos on various technologies. We have uploaded a lot of videos on Azure as well. You can check out that. And we have a blogging platform as well, where we have written a lot of blogs about typical things which people would want to use Azure for. You can check that out on our website as well, right? By just typing in intellipaat.com/blog. I'll show you that also in a minute, right? Apart from this, we also have some free courses that you can actually avail, right? So free courses obviously are not the full Azure courses, but they are going to teach you the first 2 or 3 modules of Azure, and you can make it available again as well, right? So first of all, let me show you the blogging website. Just go to intellipaat.com/blog. And these are all the various technologies that we write a blog on. You can go over here, see which technology interests you, read about it, right? Then we also happen to have an Academy website, intellipaat.com/academy. Now, in Academy, we have some free courses that we have made available for our customers. You can actually go ahead and enroll yourself into the free course of Azure and see what are the quality with which we teach, right? And based on that, you can take a decision, right? So this is again one thing that we do. Apart from this, what we also have is our set of premium courses that are available on intellipaat.com. So you can just search for Azure, and you can see all the courses that we offer and choose a course based on your preference. If you need help, any kind of career guidance, you can actually call us on these numbers. right? And our course advisors are here to help you out with regards to your queries. Like, for example, you might have queries like, I'm in this domain right now. What is the correct way to upskill? Which is the correct course to upskill? So you can talk all those questions to us on these numbers when you call us, right? And we will be available to answer all your queries. Now, if you have any questions, I'll be ready to answer any of them. So Pankaj is saying, do we are charged for internet that we use to download some required files in the VM? So Pankaj, there is a certain limit that is specified on the VM. So until and unless you do not cross that limit, it is all fine. No internet charges occur to you, right? But after that, there's a very feeble amount which is again charged on the internet usage that will come down to you with your bill. Pankaj is saying, if I wish to continue with the VM created for testing but not get charged, how can we release the public IP assigned to VM? So if you do not want to get charged, Pankaj, what you can do is you can basically go ahead and create an image out of your VM, which you can later download and have it run on a virtual box. So that is again an option, which is something which is a little an advanced stage, which you can learn more about as we progress in the webinars. Okay, covering that in this session actually is not possible, but yes, to answer your question, it is possible. It is possible to do that. So Sheetal is saying, to connect to Windows Server, we use RDP or Putty. So Sheetal, Putty is just for SSH connections, and SSH can only occur on Linux machines, right? For RDP, you always have to use, if you're on Windows, you have to use Windows Remote Desktop to connect. If you're on Linux or Mac, you can download the Microsoft Remote Desktop application, which I showed you earlier, to connect to the both machines. But at the same time, course is a certification course. So yes, this is a certification course. What we mean by certification course is we are going to cover everything which is basically going to be asked in the certification exam for an Azure Solutions Architect or Azure Admin or Azure Developer, right? And once you are done with our course, you can actually go ahead and appear for those certifications and you can crack. Apart from that, we also give you a certificate that so we have a lot of 500 plus clients, that corporate clients that we actually are training partners for, and all those training clients basically recognize our certificate. So even if you are not appearing for the exam and you take up a course with us, you'll be certified from Intellipaat once you complete the course, once you complete all the hands-on and all the assignments, all the projects, right? And that also you can add up in your resume and show to corporate. So luckily to saying virtual machines that were created for WANA, what will happen afterwards? So luckily these are not created for WANA. The pricing that I showed you are per hour, right? It basically means if you delete it after 2 hours, you will be charged about the price into 2 of that. So you are never deploying your server for on a timely basis. You can delete it whenever you want. If you delete it after half an hour, you will just be charged for half an hour. That is half the price that it was showing on a per hour basis. Okay, so that's how it works. Computer is saying thank you. Okay, Reddy is saying hi, when I have Windows computer, why do we need to run a computer in Azure? So Reddy, when you are deploying an application, your application cannot be hosted on your computer because there will be some 1,000 people accessing it, right? And at the same time, you have to make sure that this computer is on all the time. So you rent computers from a cloud platform like Azure or Google Cloud Platform or AWS when you want to deploy your own application. Now this is used by companies to deploy their application because over there the products are used by thousands of people at the same time. For example, if you talk about Intellipaat.com, that website is also obviously on a server. So at any time there are 500 plus users in that website, yes, register something, write the code, talking to chat advisor. So that is why you need servers. Here, okay. Just let me know, guys, if it is better now. Okay, am I audible now, guys? Okay, great. So yeah, so that was the answer ready to your question. All right, guys. So with this, I just told you about the various platforms where you can actually go ahead and search or learn more about. Right. Apart from that, I also told you about the course that we offer. So our course are all instructor-led courses. They're all offered by people who are already Azure architects or already Azure administrators, and they're going to teach you on Azure, sharing their experience, telling you what to focus on exactly to basically get a job. Right. And apart from that, you also get 24/7 support. You get lifetime access to the course, etc. So you can take as much trainings with us as much as you want for free once you enroll for that particular course. Okay. Now with that, guys, I would also like to tell you about a promo code. So you can use YouTube 30 in case you are uh, wanting to purchase the course from us. You'll get a flat 30% off on all the courses by just entering this promo code. And with that, we come to an end of this session. Okay, so you can call us on these numbers if you have any further doubts. You can also mail us at sales@intellipaat.com for any further queries. And remember, guys, we have a session at 8:30 as well. So if you are interested, you can just go to the website. So there's a link called intellipaat.com/academy/webinars. So just go to this link and register yourself for a webinar which is deploying end-to-end website on Azure. So just register for this, right? And then you will be added to our webinar and you can ask us live questions. Okay. So let me see if you have any more questions that we can go ahead and see. So Bharat is saying, so please share the link. So, okay, Bharat. I will just put it on the chat. Otherwise, what you can also do is just go to intellipaat.com/academy/webinars and you would be able to see it. But anyways, I'll just put this link over here as well so that you can go ahead and register. And people on YouTube, you would have got it in the live chat for you. And also in some time, we will add this link in the comment section on YouTube as well so that you can go ahead and register for this webinar. This webinar is going to be at 8:30 today. So do not miss it. We probably will not have this on YouTube as well, this webinar. So it's better if you register and we can have this discussion over there at 8:30 today. Okay. So with that, guys, I would like to take a leave from you all. I thank you all for joining in today. I hope this session was useful to you all. I hope you guys have learned something new today in this session, right? So if you are interested, you can actually call us on these numbers and we will get back to you shortly. All right. So with that, guys, I thank you for joining in today. Have a great day ahead and goodbye.